There are some people, or maybe from a particular country or some areas in this world, who still see Africa like a place where there is hunger, where nothing is moving.
Africa is developing. We want to go from a different point of view.
If you see countries like Ghana, like Nigeria, where the political transition has been done, in the move way, in the normal way, like in Europe, where there's no political crisis.
And because these things are being held back, people still hold on to their, preconceived ideas that they still have about Africa.
Welcome to the project of the Black community. This project is sponsored by the organization called Gesellschaft für politische Bildung. We want to use the opportunity to thank them for giving us the opportunity to deliberate on issues that concerns not only those of us coming from the continent Africa, but the world in general. We at the same time want to use the opportunity to thank the government of Upper Austria, the social department, who makes this also possible for us to keep on doing one or two projects we have been doing, and at the same time the city of Linz from the cultural and integrational department who makes this possible. This evening we are going to talk about environmental Africa. That's the topic we have, and it has to be channeled on issues that moves and concerns Africa as a whole and the world in general. In the room in the discussion, I have the CFO, in German they call Geschäftsführer of the Black community. That's somebody who directs the affairs of the Black community, by name Mr. Uche Njoku. Uche, can you please tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Well, my name is Anselm Uche Njoku. I came from Nigeria and I've been living here since almost 3 years now.
Following him is a very good friend and colleague of mine by name Dr. Pierre Ugei. He comes also from Côte d'Ivoire and is also a product of Kepler University. He studied the Volkswirtschaft and is also from the level BSc, Masters until his doctorate degree there. So Pierre, can you please say something about yourself?
Yeah, Pierre Ugei is my name. I come from Ivory Coast. And as you said, we went to Kepler University and we are living here since, I'm living here since my family and me since almost more than 20 years.
You're welcome. The only lady among us, in the German we call it Masters, in English it says MSc, Mrs. Mary Okanse. She is also a social policy analyst. Please, Mary, can you tell our listeners a little bit about you? Something I may have forgotten.
Thank you very much, Kafo, for the introduction. So just a little bit more about myself. I am Mary, as he said, and I came to Austria 4 years ago, and I came to join my husband who was taking his doctorate in the Kepler University, and when I came in I saw the opportunity to also further my studies. And originally we are from Ghana in West Africa, so for the past 4 years we've been living in Austria, over Umgebung, Helmholtz precisely. Yeah, thank you.
And to my very self, I'm Mr. Ikechukwu Okafor. I also went the same Kepler where all of us started, and at the moment I try my small little best to assist the young generation, the youths. I'm a social youth counselor, and also in the political arena I try to also contribute in the development of our society. That's why also we came to this idea. So to our topic, I said environmental Africa. It says everybody knows in the world now we're talking about climate change, and they say the environmental pollution and climate protection are global issues, and Africa is important in several ways. and Africa is no longer to be seen or defined with those usual definitions, like in German they call Krieg, we say war in English, catastrophe is catastrophe, and corruption is corruption, and hunger and drought and undeveloped area. Africa is developing. We want to go from a different point of view and point out things that concerns and see also the contributions we are making on that level. We was trying to say Europe and China and the African trade, development aid, non-culture, what is of use to whom and to which environmental, economical, and do they have political implications to our people. We should also talk about what is this agenda, how are we to understand it, who is the beneficiary of this relationship. Just as I said before, what is the political implication, and what is the environmental implication, and how does this implication affect both the culture in the continent, in terms of music, communication, human development, and many other. To all these questions, I will start to ask my Uche, the Geschäftsführer, the CFO of the Black community. How do you see these definitions attached to Africa and the present situation in Africa at the moment? Do they have, does these definitions still hold? Because we will later come into it to share many of the developments that is happening over there. In some areas, the African continent is leading in terms of environmental. We have, from what our researchers have told us, many people may not know it, we have started before even the Europeans began to talk about and notice the climate change, because we are experiencing it personally. So does this definition still hold at the moment?
I can say it depends on how each individual sees it. There are some people, or maybe from a particular country or some areas in this world, who still see Africa like a place where there is hunger, where nothing is moving. Let me use an example here now. Somebody from United Kingdom, they have more contact, more things to do with some African countries, unlike somebody from Australia here. Those from UK, they have more historic things, information about Africa than those who are living here. If you go to schools, like I have seen even some children in the schools, or even my own daughter, what they hear more is how there is hunger in Africa, how things are not moving in Africa, how the Africans cannot even do that very well, do things well, which I have even had somebody who said, anyway, a woman who told me something like that directly. But if you go to another area, let me use an example in our United States. They see the Nigerians there as one of the most educated foreigners you have in the United States. So the picture, how they see Africa, depends on the country or depends on the area. The image they created or they gave them about Africa. But the question is this: are the African regions like the way they define Africa to be? For me, I can say no, it's no more like that. The Africa of 20 years ago is not the Africa of this present time we are into now.
Pierre, you studied here, you traveled back there to give lectures at the university. I forgot to tell our people, Pierre is also a guest professor at the University of Cocody in Abidjan, in Ivory Coast. And so you have a different view as many of us who are staying here only and getting our information from either the social media or the print media, you have more experience. What do you say to that particular thing?
Thank you for the question. First of all, I want to say things can be seen partly good, partly bad. What I mean is that we see Africa as a continent of hunger, a continent of riots, a continent of, social disease. Right now, those things still hold in some part of Africa. I can give an example. For a few days, I saw on the television a reportage from Madagascar where people are starving. 2020, people are starving in Madagascar. Not because of this, but because of lack of food. That's first thing. And the second thing is that the causes of those problems, political problems, those causes are still holding in some countries. If you see countries like Ghana, like Nigeria, where the political transition has been done, in the move way, in the normal way, like in Europe, you are the elected president, you take over the power. Where there is no political crisis, where people are not killing themselves because of the power. In those countries, Africa has moved away, have moved ahead, can I say. In some countries where we are cultivating the harm to kill people, like countries like Guinea in West Africa, countries like Ivory Coast in West Africa, countries, we saw it shortly, like Burundi, where they don't respect the constitution. Those are some countries where we still have some problems, where people are killing themselves. That means there are some good countries in Africa, not good, some countries where the progress has been done in some area. And there are some other countries where things have gone a little bit backwards. In terms of food now, fortunately, apart from Madagascar, where I saw the last time, some countries have been in the good way in terms of food, in terms of nourishing their populations. That's what I can say. But as I'm not living there, permanently, there are some things that can escape from me. I don't know.
Okay. What would you want to add to this, what the two gentlemen have already said, if you haven't they?
I would say that really Africa there's been a lot of reform, and to say that the 3 Ks, as you mentioned, still holds, I will not rule it out completely, but I will say that there has been a lot of improvement, and we cannot hold on to those 3 Ks. I just want to say that it is still lingering on the minds of a lot of the Western society, these 3 Ks. That's when I say 3 Ks, it's German. I don't know if Mr. Kafa, you want to help me with the meaning of the 3 Ks.
This is just the catastrophe, Krankheit, Krieg.
Okay, so
that's war, hunger, and catastrophe, and war. What do you call it? Corruption as well.
Yes, so I won't rule everything out. Corruption is still something that African governments are struggling with. Wars, I will say that I don't really see much of that there now. Then catastrophe. Yes, a bit of this is going on, and we'll say disasters, that's in English. It's still happening, and there are root causes to all of this. I will not say that these things do not pertain in other continents. Africa as a continent, we have our struggles, but I must say that there has been a lot of improvement currently. And I want to say that, before I mention these 3 Ks, a lot is happening and a lot is not being spoken out there to the Western media because of how the preconceived ideas, when Africa is mentioned, okay, hunger, disasters, wars, these things are changing. Better things ought to be broadcasted for the entire world to know. And because these things are being held back, people still hold on to their, preconceived ideas that they still have about Africa. Democracy is really going on well in a lot of African countries. And I would not say that, it's perfect, but at least there has been a lot of improvement, and we are not hearing this in the Western media. They only bring it out when there are wars, when there are, issues here and there with elections, but when the handing over is going on smoothly, they do not broadcast that. I think it is just about the media in the Western society bringing out both sides of the coin and not letting things stay with only the negatives, so that people are abreast with issues that are happening in Africa. Yes. And all these, mentality that there's no good coming from Africa, it changes. Okay. But if they are here and they are not in Africa, they don't know what is going on, but this is the only thing they see, then this conception still stays with them. So for me, I would say that for Africa's image to be put out there, exactly what is happening, it depends on the media and what they put out there, because not everybody will have the chance to visit Ghana and know exactly what is happening on the grounds. Let's say that poverty in Austria, there are some parts and some people who are also going through a hard time putting their daily needs together. It doesn't mean that the whole of Austria or the whole of Europe are in a poverty-stricken, but when it comes to Africa, if a certain or even a small village is captured on the news, Africa is poor. But this same Africa has lots of countries. Over 54 countries are in this continent. So why do we, pick one village in Congo and highlight it, poverty in Africa? What stops you from saying that poverty in this, village? Because when you come to Austria, you won't tell me that poverty in Austria, meanwhile the person is living in, Ufa am Gabon, a small village there, and you capture it as poverty in Europe or poverty in Austria. For me, it's just about how we put information when it comes to the continent of Africa out there. This will go a long way to change a lot of the preconceived ideas. The things that used to be, I won't say everything is gone, but a lot has changed.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. I will also want to pick up from where you stopped. There are some developmental aids that are being sought either by the governments from Africa, and these developmental aids impact on environmental problems in Africa. I see that way, both in the dependency and in the self-development, entfaltung development. Yeah, it affects, because if you make your budget from begging, from money borrowed, or from asking somebody to assist you, then you're not making a budget. You depend on and all those things make it so that the nature in Africa is being misused. For example, there is a monoculture. We have an example of China buying so many lands in some part of Africa, and there a monocultural production of food, a particular food, so that it has to feed the European market. The question is, how does these, both developmental aid coming from the West and these monocultural projects affect the climate and the cultural problems in Africa? What can you guys say about that?
I will just say something about this particular issue now. When you see somebody from, let me say, Europe or China or Asia, let me use that word like that, or America, trying going to Africa to say that's with the name or under the umbrella aid. You ask yourself, what do they want to benefit from that aid? They are not giving anything without having something in return. And why they are doing those things, let me tell you this, none of them is considering about the environment of Africa, of that area. They consider on that their own mission, because while going there, doing that, they will have a mission in their mind. And that mission is the focus and not what happens to the people. This is where everything centers. Yes, we know that, let me use for example now the China you mentioned. We have seen some areas where they are using the word investment, investing things. That's investing in gold mining, for example, in Ghana, investing in gold mining, for example, in Nigeria. And then you see what that gold mining has cost in that particular area. I saw one village in Ghana where it affected the landmass. That place. If you see the type of problem it has caused, that people around that place can no more go to the farm and get something for themselves. But the Chinese company that is doing it doesn't care about the life of the people. What they care about is what they take out from there in their own country. And that's where I normally say that African countries should stand up and do those things by themselves. Because when you are doing something for yourself, there are things you put into consideration. You will care about my kids, my children, the next generation to come. And what about the people who are going to farm, and so on and so forth. Let me use, for example, again, the oil mining companies in Nigeria, Shell and all these things. We have seen what they have done in Niger Delta, and none of them considers the people who are living around that place. The people can no more go to farm and just farm and get out crops for their children. The companies do not even care about what the families are passing through. They care about what they are taking out from there. So just to put it to make it short, when you see any of these nations going to Africa for an aid to them, ask yourself, what is their agenda there?
Doctor.
Let me say one thing about this topic. No country, no single country in the world can go and develop another country if not developing its own interest. Those development heads for Africa since almost the independence, what is the result? What kind of result did we get from it? The Africans must understand one thing, and they must know one thing. No other country can come and develop them, regardless what they will receive. Let me give you an example. When they were independent, the Senegalese president, Leopold Sédar Senghor, went to IMF, to World Bank IMF, to ask for money to come and organize his agricultural area. Yeah. They said, no, we cannot give you this money for your agricultural area. Look, that means there are some area where they accept to give money for, and there are some area where they don't want to give the money. That means we cannot count on another country to be developed. Any country that go to Africa, like France in Gabon, in uranium, you call it uranium area. After their departure, there's no single human being living in this area again, because they are all radioactivity activated. All of them.
Yes.
This one is in Gabon. This one is in Niger, Republic of Niger.
Okay. Mary, I saw you trying to articulate what you want to give us. What do we do?
I mean, it's not about articulation, but I was trying to follow and I lost track of the question you asked anyway. That's why I'm just, trying to get my mind back on it. Yeah, so you mentioned China, Europe, African,
I was talking about the
trade.
development aid that's been expected from the Western world and China. I was at the same time talking about the monocultural plantations. People have begun to want to plant like the Western world planting, and at the end, these are things that will destroy our environment. And most of those things are immediately when they're produced, packaged and shipped away from the country that even people don't get it. For example, the plantation of rose flowers. Yeah?
Yeah.
Using a very land mass to produce rose flower to be sent back to Europe.
In Ethiopia?
Okay? In Ethiopia. Okay? So,
Kenya.
what benefit do we have from it? It destroys our culture, it destroys our people, it destroys the land.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what we are talking about. And in combination with the aid, they will tell you, oh, we want to bring this, and they give you that money, and so on.
Yeah, so with regard, I want to take it, it's a lot you have in one question. So let me just take it step by step. I'll try to be very brief anyway. So I would say that when it comes to trade, well, it might be that Africa is not, getting so much out of the various negotiations and agreements they have. But we cannot rule out the fact that in some way it's better than nothing at all. I mean, when I say it's better than nothing, we need something from them. And the conditions, when I say we need something, I'm talking about financial provision for, when you look there was something I was reading yesterday. African Union has this agenda for 2063. Socioeconomic development of Africa is one of their topmost, priorities. When it comes to socioeconomic development, I have said this before, that we are living in a global world. We cannot have everything. We need to, the trade is very necessary. We need to exchange. But then you ask yourself, in the exchange, what are the terms? It is the terms that we see that when it comes to African countries are really, they do not get as much as is expected from their partners. The partners end up gaining more. And I will want to say that sometimes it's difficult for our governments because of where they find themselves. They are in a position where, I want to put this infrastructure together. My youth need jobs. I want to establish this. The person who is giving me the financial aid gives me certain terms. In the bid to, just put these structures together, I realize that our government do not look into the future of the various contracts they are signing with these financial aids they are getting from the Western powers. Okay? And it ends up putting the continents, the countries, the regions in situations that later on you realize that you are at the beck and call of these Western powers who are giving you these financial aids. An example you raised was the issue of China. China is supporting a lot of African countries in terms of financial aid when it comes to their development. But you ask yourself, what is in for them? Yes, in the outlook, I mean, you will say, oh wow, these people are doing so much for Africa. They are giving us soft loans, they are bringing in their people. But if you look deep into everything that they are doing, you ask yourself, yes, we are benefiting, but they are, when you go down to look into, draft of things, and you look into how things are going, bringing their, technical staff to come in, paying their workers in their currency, raw materials, everything coming from there, you realize that in the end, Africa does not really, or the country, in quotes, they are supposed to be helping, ends up being used. It's helping their people, helping their economies, and they put, in quotes, they put you in a certain situation where even at a certain point, the resources that you have, it becomes theirs because they give you the terms they give you for, repayment of the loans and all of that. There are a number of countries who are really debt trapped. African countries debt trapped with Chinese governments. And, after a certain period of time, if you can't meet these conditions, then they take over whatever, natural resources you have. And mind you, Africa has a lot of natural resources. So they end up tapping into all of these things. Then it comes back to who is benefiting. They end up benefiting. And I also want to add this monoculture bit. We have the lands. We have very arid lands which are good. But you ask yourself, are people who are working on these farms, what is the payment terms? Are they being treated fairly? Is there some fair trade? When it comes here, how much is sold? You consider all these things and you realize that it's just a matter of Africans being sidelined, but I would say that it is not a 50-50 affair. You realize that most of the time, in my estimation, it will be a 70-30. 70 for the Western powers, in quotes, Europe, China.
80,
Africa ends up being at the, less receiving end. Even though in their drafting of terms, they say that we are going to help them, we end up helping, Africans end up being the ones helping the Western countries to even grow. And it should even trigger a lot of things. Why are so many Western powers interested in the continent Africa at this point in time?
Yeah, that was the way I asked the question of what is the agenda here, and the beneficiary in this type of relationship. You will notice is the donor or the people who bring the technology. At the end, we pay the price. That's what a summary of what they're trying to say. The question, before you say yes, I throw a question so that you can continue from there. Does these things we are talking about here have any political implications? Continue.
Before I go into this particular question, I will go back to what she said. And that thing is where the whole problem lies. Why I'm saying it is one of your first questions is about corruption. Why the African countries are having low bargaining power while bargaining with the Western nations is because of corruption. Why I'm saying because of corruption is this. Almost every African country is, let me use the word blessed, is blessed with a natural resource that when somebody is coming to bargain with you, you stand strong to bargain with the person. Any country bargaining now with Saudi Arabia, because of their oil, they know that they are bargaining with, a bulldozer, let me use that word like that. If US is bargaining with China in terms of technology, they know that, at least they have a level they will bargain on. But the one of Africa makes it, because of corruption, what they have, they put in the pocket, the economy is down, so they now go out to borrow. And they still, when they borrow the money, they cannot invest it. They will still put the money in the pocket, and this has been happening years from year to year, from year to year, from year to year. Why the foreign countries come there, take the natural resources, mine them, and then take it outside. So the corruption is the root of this low bargaining power. If they can remove the corruption, whatever they get, they invest it there, then you see development. Okay. Coming to that point.
That's exactly where I will come in now and say, these incidents or these things or this structure as it is now, does it have a political implication? If it has, what is it and how do we get closer to it? And what's the solution to it?
It has a political implication. The implications are very, very much, like I was saying before, The solution to it, let me go to the solution direct. The solution to it is when the Africans will be ready to practice pure democracy. When the African nations, let me know when I use Africans, let it not be like Africa is a nation. African nations, because the way it is in, let me use let me use an example. In Cameroon is not how it is in Nigeria. Just like Mary said before, in different countries you have different type of regime that's regime they have there and so on and so forth. But the solution to it is only pure democracy. Where there is pure democracy, there will be checks and balances. You see those who will check in the activity of the other arms of government. You see those who will monitor what the directors are doing. You see how the police will be doing their work, because there is pure democracy. And this has been a problem in Africa. But for the fact that there is still little problems in their politics, it makes it difficult for them to fight all these problems.
Doc,
Yeah.
tell us.
I can say it has not only political implications, it has political roots.
Yes.
Because a politician who is elected through the head of external hands, and it doesn't do his victory to the people. He doesn't mind whether the people are happy or not. He does what he wants, and he is ready to corrupt all those deciders to do what he wants. But if this politician is elected by the people and he owed his victory to the people, to his people, and he knows that at the end of his mandate, he has to come to the people to say, what I said is what I did. Then he will be careful with how he will go.
But let me throw in something here, because we forget about it. In terms of choosing governments in the whole continent of Africa, the West has its hand directly in deciding who takes over. Because whoever comes there must fulfill and dance to the tune of those who are giving him the power.
Yes.
Take, for example, the country where you are coming from.
Ivory Coast.
Okay. Take, for example, Gambia. Take example, there are so many of them. Nigeria,
Even Nigeria, yes.
No.
and many of them. Take, for example, in what part of the world would somebody as old as Paul Biya would stay all that long in the politics? So I think that's why I'm talking about the political implications. Because of these Western interests, because of the gain they get out of it, they have decided. It's an agenda, I try to say it's an agenda. People may say is a, what do you call it, Verschwörungstheory. How do you say Verschwörungstheory of English? Okay. It is an agenda to make sure that we do not develop and grow, because they know if we develop, be dependent, be able, like Mary was saying, to by the negotiation stand our feet, they will be begging. So they have to make sure they are going to put somebody in power who will do exactly what they want them to do.
Yes.
So that's my contribution to it. I don't know. That's what I mean by the political implication. Mary, okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
The other issue is that the other problem is that the African Union as a whole is financed by European Union. Why? Why can those countries not put together? I mean, less than 1% of their budget of their gross product.
GDP.
GDP. Why can't they take a small part of it and finance African Union? And the African Union is financed by European Union. If somebody is financing you, your hand will always be below, not on the top. That's the beginning of the problems. And those people financing you, if a dictator like Ouattara, like Condé, try to remain in the power, they try to corrupt those people coming to observe the elections. And those people who come to observe the election will go and make report to African Union. And African Union is corrupted is financed by European Union. What is the cycle?
Okay.
That is the problem. That's why I say
That is political leadership.
not only the application, but the rules are political too.
Yes.
So I think that maybe from the younger generation has a different approach.
How do you say younger generation? Anyway, yes, I'm still in my early 30s, so you are right to say
No,
younger
I mean at least in the room, you're the discussion.
Yes.
You are the youngest among the three of us.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's fine. But you know, Doc said something which, I mean, if the person is the one financing you, they call the shots, you know.
Yeah.
So you are their beck and call. So I mean, what I just want to say that yes, indeed, political implications are there. If we draft a whole year budget, every African country, I know this for a fact, seeks a certain amount of financial support to finance their budgets every year. Elections are financed more than 60%. We seek our financial, for even our elections from the European and the Western powers to run our elections. When United States of America, they were conducting their recent elections, did they need Africans to come and do this monitoring? No, but when we African countries are having elections, they bring people from, these places to monitor, go and give, they have the voice. But if you look in the United Nations, UNO, the African continent has 54 representations just in UN. So for me, I would say that we have political power. But unfortunately, because of excuse me to say, low financial power, then you realize that you can't say much. There's a proverb in Ghana that if you have when you have a certain financial, that's when you can sit with your elders. When you get there, you can talk, even though you don't even deserve to be with them. Just because of your,
as far as you have the
cash, you'll be able to put your voice across.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's still heard. For me, I just want to also add this, that when it comes to these political stuff, I see a bit of interest. Recently, we realized that the Western powers are having a lot of military operations.
Yes.
In African countries, okay? 2 years ago, the United States put something across to Ghana that, okay, we want to have our station, training station in one of the villages. Then I asked myself, if you have your military, we are in a global world, okay? But what is so special with Africa that this is where you want to use as your base, for training? And it's not only Ghana. A lot of other countries have had these proposals where these Western powers are bringing their troops in there to have their trainings and all of that. I don't think that is solely all about, okay, we have the interest to help you fight your wars. What wars are going on there that you need to have your people, with us? But my point is that if we are partners, as much as you are taking your people back to my region, that's African continent, in the same way, open up and let me also come here. This is what partnership is about. Do not tell me that, okay, I am interested in your political, military stuff, I want to help you. But when it comes to, your end, you put some barriers that are, no, we have enough, we do not need your support. There is something that needs to be broken. There's this barrier that we have created when it comes to the African continent that the entire world has created for Africa that needs to be taken off. And we will live in a wonderful socio-economic and wonderful global economy will be enjoyed by everyone. That is just what I want to say.
Okay, that will bring me back to the responsibility, because we're talking about the environmental disaster and the problems and the political effect of all these influence do have on our zone. He has mentioned it, example in Nigeria, where people can no longer fish, they cannot go to farm, the waters are destroyed, the floor. They're talking about Guinea, the uranium that has made people die over there, and so many of them. There are so many examples we can give to show this catastrophe that is happening as a result of these political policies and system. Now the last question I will ask on it would be, we as voters, we as consumers, we as citizens, be it in Africa, maybe they may watch it, anybody can watch it from there, or those of us living here, what directly and how directly can we affect a change to that system, or to help a little bit stopping these effects?
Looking at me, you want me to start?
I want you to start because you're the last person.
Your eyes are so in my direction.
Yes,
so yes, let me just
you're the last person who talks.
so
So continue, so we'll go back.
yeah, let me just start in this way. I think that continentally, I want to just bring it from level to level. As African continent, we need to rise up. We need to come together. Doc said something that no country, when we mentioned the China bit, not one country can come and say, I want to go and make another country better. And this is China saying, I want to make Africa better. Yeah. I'm not denying that fact. It can happen. But I want to say that we as African continent, we also have a role to play in the continental circle, okay? That the entire continent, we need to unify. We have this African Union Agenda 2063. I mean, wonderful policies are put there which they want to get to. But it starts from somewhere.
2063.
Yes. The agenda is for 2063.
That is in the next 63 years.
And the catchphrase says...
You may not be living by then, and you too.
I will be there. Don't worry. I'll
No, you'll be there. That's why I said the younger generation.
So it's...
I may not.
You may not.
I might.
Let me just go on. So I was saying that continentally, we need to put ourselves together. This is something on the agenda that they want a unified Africa. A lot of policies are being put together. I wish that we'll have time to talk more, maybe another time.
We have another time. We have another program where we'll continue from today's day, because there are 4 aspects of what we're discussing, and this today is the first one. We'll still come back the next time with some other new people into the forum, so that we can...
Yeah, I mean, it will be good so that we even look into more on the agenda on the Africa, where we want to get to, the agenda for 2063. It's a long way, but we need to start from somewhere and get there step by step. And continentally, a lot of things have been put in place. And I hope that our leaders do not just make it a paper, document, but some steps will be taken to get there. We cannot get there in 1 decade. It takes time. And I will also say that regionally, let's take Western African region, Eastern African region, there are lots of diversities that we have in the various regional sectors. Regionally, we need to, look at what do we have to tackle as a problem or a way to move our region forward. So from the bigger African continent, we come to the regional levels, then we come to the national levels. The national levels are government, are political leaders on the national level. I know that there are lots of challenges, but if we put in the attitude of wanting to move our people forward, let's put aside the selfishness. It's all about me. This is one big thing that is drawing the African countries back. They are getting the financial aids, but accountability is an issue. Can you imagine when we put together all the financial aids that have gone into various countries in Africa, if there were supposed to be concrete accountability for whatever they've given people, the Western powers have given for their so-called development they write out to collect these funds for. We are supposed to see tremendous development in the continent, in the various countries in Africa. We do not see that. So nationally, I say that there needs to be the accountability, but should be there. When it comes to we as individuals who are Africans, the natives of Africa, we always need to ask ourselves, let's not look in the moment. Whatever we are doing, I believe that let's look into the future. What are the other generations? What is it going to be like? Now there's a lot of mining and they are not even looking into the side effects of the craze when it comes to this, in quotes, we use this word in Ghana, it says galamsey, by hook or crook, we need to get that mineral. And they don't care the consequences of getting the mineral, whether it's polluting the waters, the air, whatever it is. We need to get the mineral. But you ask yourself, after you get the mineral, what happens if you do not have good health to enjoy all the profits you are getting from selling that mineral? What is it for? Because everything is being polluted. Then we in the diaspora, let me come to us here, because I'm sure they will have the chance to listen to whatever. What can we do? Let us not buy the used stuff that Austria is going to dump away. Then we say, oh, let me take it to my country. If it is not good for Austria, it is not good for Ghana. If it is not good for Europe, it is not good for Africa. This is the world we are in. Why do we see another continent as a dumping site? No. Let us prioritize our own. If you are enjoying the air in Europe, why do you want people back home to live in a polluted environment? And mind you, Africa contributes less than 5% to this global emissions that we are seeing now. Most of the cause of this, greenhouse stuff is mostly from the Western powers, Europe, US. But in the end, it is the continent of Africa that are so vulnerable to the majority of the pollution. And unfortunately, they are poverty stricken and they will have to suffer the consequences for being so vulnerable. And we can see it everywhere now in the African countries. For me, I would say that those in the diaspora, let's also put ourselves in the situation where what is not good to be done here or to be used here, we can start from somewhere. Let us not take it back home. That, okay, they don't want it here, maybe my people can use it. If they would not use it here, then they would not use it back home. So let's start from there.
Okay, because I'm sorry, we have to cut it short because we still have another program. There is a lot to discuss on this. So many people have written books on it, and still there are a lot to talk, and there is still a lot to say. So, Doc.
I will just be short. And I will ask one question to everybody that will listen to our meeting today. We have, how many continents do we have on this world? I think
5 of them.
5.
Yeah.
And then if you count Oceania, that is 6 other 5.
Yeah.
Okay. In those continents, in which continent we don't make cars? It's only in Africa.
No, in Nigeria, we make cars in Nigeria and Ghana now.
No, that's putting them together.
Okay. No, it's not putting them together.
The mark.
Yeah, the innocent in Nigeria, and what is the other guy in Ghana who is producing very wonderful? They're even producing armored vans. I know. You know of innocent.
Kantanka.
Kantanka. Okay. They're producing the different.
It says short time, not long time.
It's just a short time. Yeah.
Short time.
Yeah.
That is what democracy can bring in a country, where people are free to choose their leader, where people are free to know what they can do. Okay, that's another. Africa is the only country. Even the car produced in Ghana or Nigeria, they have not reached in Ivory Coast. Then I don't even know about it. Yeah. But the one produced in Czech, Skoda,
Yeah.
or in Germany,
Even
or
the
in
one coming
France,
out this week.
or in Italy,
You see
the one
it.
coming out this week, we know it there in Ivory Coast.
Yeah,
And
like-
that's what Mary is saying. And it's
What
those in
Mary
the
said is good.
diaspora
What
that are bringing
Mary
this
is
news down there.
good. Not only the diaspora, even the people down there,
Okay.
they bring it. Then we have to unite our forces. We have to unite Africa is producing cotton. Africa is producing all minerals. Africa is producing all. Why can't we have one industry that can produce clothes for all Africans? We have cotton. Why?
Okay.
Now diaspora. Mary said it. Those used clothes here, we send it back home. If we think 1 second that coming together and creating a small plant of producing clothes, cheaper, we don't need the used clothes here to bring them back to Africa. We can do it if we think about it. The solution can come. We can produce cheaper clothes, new one that we wear the 1st of January. We can do it in all countries. And if it's produced either in Ghana or Nigeria, I don't mind. Or Burkina Faso, where cotton is a lot, we can produce and dispatch it in all countries. We will gain from it. The benefit will go to the farmers, and the benefit will also go to the people living in the house. Then we diaspora, we have to be very careful. As she said, it's a good point. I can say it. We have to be very careful with things we are bringing back home. Used cars, in Africa, a car that has less than 7 years cannot enter. And people are suffering of it. Because this decision doesn't bring another way. Like, okay, you can go and import cars from Ghana. It's good, we can finance you. But you say don't bring cars from Europe that are more than 7 years. The people don't have money to bring new cars. It's also a drawback. That's it.
Okay, like you said before, you said you will make it short, but you'll make it a little bit longer. I will make it shorter myself.
Okay.
I'll make it shorter.
Mm-hmm.
We still went back to what I was saying before, pure democracy.
Yeah.
Pure democracy is the answer.
That's the summary of the whole thing.
Because in pure democracy, when I'm doing something and nobody's checking me, I'm acting there as a dictator. Whatever I am putting, even if I put the whole money in the pocket, money for the development of of that region in my pocket, nobody talks. Just like Mary said before. If you know that, let me say this concretely now. There is a state in Nigeria, Imo State, or some states, they've started it. Instead of allowing the local government that was existing before to be directly elected by the people, the governor will now appoint somebody to be caretaker committee, to be in charge of the local government, so that they will now be sharing the money that should go from federal to the local government for the development. Just share it and put it in the pocket. Another problem there I'm seeing that I would like to address is the same corruption I talked about. This corruption is connected with this. If those who are ruling African countries will even take the money and invest the money in those nations, I am telling you, there are companies that they will build there that will create employment. Some Africans will not be running away from Africa because they will be employed in those places. And then some foreign companies that are now bringing their goods into that country can no more have the opportunity. But they are bringing the goods, just like you said, our people are bringing those things there because those things are still lacking. If they are not lacking, they cannot be bringing them. Or the ones that are bringing, they are the ones that are bringing those produced here that are still new. If you check the price there, then now somebody will now bring the one that's already used to cheaper price. Let me go for the cheaper one because I don't have enough. So you see that it's somehow complicated.
Can I say something in a minute?
Yes.
I know you are wrapping up.
I'm coming because it's a very interesting thing. Actually, it's very, very interesting. And I would want you guys again also to give me time and come back again for this discussion so we can continue. But before we go, add that thing you wanted to add.
I forgot to say this. Yeah, we've talked about the diaspora. Hopefully, I mean, someone in Austria or wherever might hear this, but I want to say that a lot of elections goes on in African countries. And I must say that for me, what I've witnessed in these, few years, when I became a registered voter, I realized that most of us vote on ethnical and tribal, lines.
Yes.
We have reached a point where accountability is key to our African continent developing.
Sorry, but those parties in Africa have party program. People will now follow.
I will say that let us vote, exercise our voting power on grounds of what can this government do for me. Let's stop the tribal voting, tribal politics, ethnical grounds. It doesn't matter if just look, what does the person have to give? And I also want to say that as individuals, forget about the political dimension. Let us value what we have. Let me come down to food and, let us value our own. Let us value what we produce. It will go a long way to help build our economy. It's not only the political powers who have a way of bringing African continent to that level. From the individual levels, we can get there. So those in diaspora will do our part. Sending down the monies and, all of that. But at home, let us enjoy what we have. Let us put some value on what we have, because we have very, very worthy and valuable stuff back home. And let's not, downplay what we have. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'll come to you. I need your 2 seconds. No, wait.
Okay,
I need your 2 seconds.
Okay.
Africa, let me use the word Africa, or Africa generally. There are only 2 things they need that can improve Africa. 1, good roads. 2, constant electricity. Because lack of constant electricity is making it that even an individual, even if I personally I want to invest there, with which power am I going to power my factory? If there is no good road, how can what I produce now reach from one place to the other? Then you see the problem. And this is the aspect the government should take that money they normally borrow and invest in. When they invest in those fields, in those areas, now it can help the individuals to do something.
If you are sick, to come and heal yourself in Europe.
Okay, so they have spoken the most summarily of what is needed. I just want to give also a positive aspect. But before then, I close. Dr. Oguiye, what do you want to say?
Well, I can say globally, Africa is on a good way to be developed. But we have to consider many things. And the young people, the young generation, even the old generation too, has to know that no country can come and develop you. No country can do things like you wanted to do them. If we leave the country doing it, then another country doing it. And we have to be financially independent. We have to finance ourselves. We can do it. We have the means, the financial means. We can do it. To reach this point, we have to banish the corruption. Because the corruption is stopping Africa to go ahead. We have to banish the corruption, and we have to come together as one country. Not being, guided by another country like in West Africa, where I know very well, we have French-speaking countries against English-speaking countries. That is a nonsense for me. We have the same background, we have the same road, and I can go to Nigeria, I can go to Ghana, I can go to any other country, to Liberia or Sierra Leone, no problem.
To Togo.
To Togo, no problem. Why should I have to be, if it comes in terms of having the same currency, then French have to put his nose in what concerns Africa. That's it. That's how we can go.
Turn right onto Schillerstrasse.
Okay, that's a sign. That's a sign that we are closing.
Yeah,
I want to use the opportunity to thank three of you for having the time here for us to discuss the issue. I want to tell our listeners there, Africa is no longer what it used to be. We are moving ahead. For example, there is a businessman in Ethiopia that has discovered the use of bamboos to replace the use of timber. Bamboos, you can use them to make plates, tables, bed. You can even eat them. You can use them to make clothes, and he is doing it. And he's doing it wonderfully well. There is also another man of Ethiopia who has built a factory that is cleaning the rubbishes and using those rubbishes to mold bricks and produce electricity. At least 30% of the electricity needed in the cities is producing them. Another good example is, before even Europe began to talk about environmental cases, this lady from Kenya, Wangari, 1977, I was not even born then, began to talk again. The man close to a place from Mali, Ouagadougou, who also made the desert a forest. The man who made the desert forest. These are people, pioneers. And in Kenya, you cannot bring used clothes. It's a law. In Rwanda, you cannot carry a plastic bag. It is a law. It can attract up to 30,000 euros if you're seen on the street with a plastic bag, or if you're producing plastic bag, because they say those things that they spoil life. So that's examples of positive things that are moving in Africa. Here in Austria, we are discussing about plastic, but it's already affected in down country Africa. So with these words, I thank you once again for coming, and thank our listeners. Please keep listening to us, or we'll still have to continue our discussion. We have not finished. It's made on 4 phases. This is the beginning, and the 4th phase. I thank Mary for your time, leaving the family, coming here. And Doctor, I thank you for also coming here this evening. My chef, and thank you also for leaving the work you should be doing, and then you come here to discuss with it. This is part of it. Thank you so much, and good evening.